I think it'll be a busy summer window, but not nearly as busy as the last two. I think it'll be fairly routine business. Yeah, we got Tosin Adarabioyo, which I think is like incredible business for, free transfer Premier League experience from Manchester City's academy. He's really improved over the last couple years. Turns 27 this fall. So it's nice to get some experience and a guy who can add, a lot of Premier League experience to this team. Um, I think profile wise, of course, nobody can replace the presence and impact of Thiago Silva. Profile wise, makes sense as a replacement for Thiago Silva. Because he's good in the air. He likes to play a lot of long balls. So I think that's a really good, swap. Of course, you can never replace Thiago Silva. He's a legend. But I think profile wise, you get some of the same things, as well as we get just an absolutely ginormous defender. Like he is huge. Um, he likes to play progressive passes and yeah, a lot of long passes. So I think he'll fit into Maresca's system really well, and I bet he's a big fan of that transfer. He was a little bit before Maresca's time at Manchester City, so I don't think Maresca ever got to work with Adarabioyo. But I think Adarabioyo is a little bit of a later bloomer, and now he's starting to kind of come into his own. And also, center backs peaks can start a little bit later. But yeah, I love that signing. And so, but with center backs, like I said, I think Trev could very realistically leave. But yeah, I think Trev and Gallagher, depending on the other outgoings, I expect Matson to leave, unfortunately. But he probably has some of the highest market value out of any of our academy products. It started with a PRO. Um, I uh I think Bruyne will be sold, which is disappointing. He just hasn't been the same after his big injury. Um, in terms of players who were a big part of the team this year, like I said, I think Sterling will probably go for more game time. He really wasn't a big part, but also I could see him staying because I think he'd fit well into the system. He just has huge wages, and so I think Chelsea, if there's a club that's interested and willing to take him, then I think we'll probably, like, no hesitation, sell him. But if there isn't any suitors, I'm sure we'd probably be happy to keep him as well because he's a good figure, good veteran to have. And I think he was around Manchester City when Maresca was with the PL2 team. But obviously he was not there when Maresca was Pep's assistant for the treble winning season. But I'm sure Maresca will know how to use him. He's a great versatile player, but I probably expect him to leave. Gallagher is a player that I really hope we don't lose, and I think he would fit well as a more, transitioning into more of a squad role, not starting week in, week out. So that could mean that he could leave. It would be brutal. But we can probably make a really good amount of money for him. But his contract, if I'm not mistaken, expires in 2025. So there is a situation, that is a situation that needs to be handled because his contract is running out. It could be 2026, but even then, that's short, and I think it's best to address that this summer, whether we extend him or we sell him. And I think most likely we probably sell him because he doesn't necessarily fit Maresca ball. He's not, an incredibly technically gifted player. I think he deserves a lot more credit than he gets for how good he is on the ball. But he is just way more of like a runner and a guy who just kind of mops up and can get involved for a goal. But unfortunately, I think I expect him to leave. And in Chelsea have a lot of young players. I expect there to be a lot of loan moves going on. Um, and so, yeah, I think it'll be a busy summer, but I think it'll be pretty routine business, and that'll set us up well for next year. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of other. I think Robert Sanchez will leave, whether that's on loan or permanently. I think whatever offer we get, we'll probably let him go because despite being a Spanish goalkeeper, he is calamitous with the ball at his feet. He got his spot taken by Steele at Brighton. I don't want to disrespect him, but when your spot is taken by, a guy who is not rated nearly as high as you because you're not good with the ball, it's not a good look. So I expect him to go. I think Maresca will like Petrovic, but just not enough to be his number one. I think we need a guy there, but um, yeah, I think Chilwell will leave. Surprisingly, I don't think there's a lot of rumors around that right now, but I think Chilwell, there's a really good chance he could go. I know Manchester United are looking at a left back, and Chilwell and Mason Mount are still like the best of friends. And so I could see Chilwell going. And so then you have like three of the most injury prone left backs in the world all together. And so hopefully they're just getting injured like offset. So then, like different parts of the season, you have Shaw, you have Malacia, then you have Chilwell, but just hopefully they're not all injured at the same time. But um, yeah, I think Chilwell could leave, and yeah. Anyways, I think that sets up the final segment. I think we have just our predictions for the season, generally just with our clubs, but maybe a top four prediction. And then maybe we can do another video where we go more in depth on predictions, maybe after some transfers have happened or something. But yeah, what do you how do you guys think you're gonna perform? What do you think the first year with no Klopp is gonna be like? First year of slot ball.
First year of slot ball, I see us still getting top four. I see us getting number three.
Yeah,
Obviously, City and Arsenal. I don't know who's going to go on top. Probably going to be City just because of their Premier League dominance, and
yeah.
it'll be no surprise. But we can't disregard that Arsenal has been, keeping the pressure. They've been applying the pressure. We've not seen a three-way race for a long time, even though it ended as a two-team race. For a majority of the time, it was Arsenal, Liverpool, and City all
Yeah.
challenging City, which is, I believe, for the amount of Premier League dominance that City has been reigning over for the last 6, 7 years. It's exactly what they needed. It's showing that, okay, we're applying that pressure. Like, we're getting used to how you play. It's your time is coming. I mean, obviously they won it, but this time it was close.
It was one
They
of one of Pep's worst seasons, definitely,
Yeah,
I
for
would say.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Um,
saying something because he still won the league. But
yep.
yeah.
I mean, props to them. Like
Uh,
they've fully taken over the Premier League, but I truly believe that as more teams are starting to catch on and be like, okay, we're starting to
yeah.
build that dominance towards you guys. We're starting to be able to challenge you guys. Um, I mean, but Arsenal, like I have to give them their credit as well. They had a fantastic season with a lot of the transfers that they made this season. Obviously, they didn't get to use Yuri and Timber the way that they would have got to.
Yeah.
We saw Kivior taking a role over Zinchenko, a fully fledged professional with a lot of Prem experience, had his spot taken by Kivior, and it was very vital for Arteta's charge. Obviously, Tomiyasu, we saw his resurgence back into form. Really helped their title. Chelsea sold Kai Havertz to Arsenal. We saw a new form of Kai Havertz
Yeah.
helped tremendously in their title charge. I think they're going to carry that into next season. I think we're going to be right in that third. I think we're going to fight again, but we're going to get that third under him, under Arne Slot. Fourth is really up for the grabbing. United, I hope they keep Ten Hag so that they can stay far away from fourth. Tottenham is just Tottenham, so it's just culture. Villa is very a static team right now.
I
They
could see
play
them
some incredible
struggling a little
football.
bit. Yeah.
Villa, you can see Villa struggling.
Yeah, I think they'll do good in Europe. Emery always does.
Mm,
But I could see like Newcastle kind of struggled to navigate like Champions League football and Premier League football in
right.
their first year. So I could see them struggling. But
In terms of all the other spots, I honestly have three teams in my mind, which is Villa, of course, because what Unai Emery has done over there and the team he's built is incredible. You have Newcastle, who we cannot sleep on, with the likes of
yeah.
Anthony Gordon, Isak, Bruno
Mhm.
Guimaraes, Joe Linton. We got Trippier, who didn't end the season the best, but he's still a very vital player for Newcastle. And then I have Chelsea. We saw them steamroll towards the end of the season. We saw what all those young boys are fully capable of. The Maduekes, the Gallaghers, the Cole Palmer, the Mudrik. We all know, and they're only going to get stronger from here. A lot of the Premier League fans or a lot of people laugh at Chelsea considering that they spent all this money on youngsters and young boys and they don't know what's going on, but that's going to take time. Obviously, it's a bunch of young boys with no prem experience or stuff like that going against fully fledged professionals, and they're still
Yeah.
able to keep up. Now you see that they're starting to click. They're going to get their manager situation informed. They're going to get their formation informed. They found their new man. Obviously, not trying to compare Cole Palmer to Hazard or anything, but they have their guy in
Yeah,
terms of, okay,
for
this is
sure.
who we can have our offense kind of revolve around.
Yeah.
We saw something that I felt was kind of Chelsea's weakness was there was a lot of individuality. There was everyone was trying to be like, okay, I'm the star, I'm the star, I'm the star, I'm the star. But now that they're like, okay, Cole Palmer is now the star, we're gonna build around him. We're gonna set these players in this sense that we saw Caicedo rough start towards the beginning of the season when he came in for all that money, and then no, if nobody's gonna say it, especially as a Liverpool fan, I'm going to say it towards the end of the season, Caicedo definitely showed his worth.
Yeah,
He was
for
very
sure.
vital.
Yeah.
Obviously, nobody's going to talk about it in terms of his tackling, even the way he got involved offensively. His long balls, in terms of spraying it towards the
Mhm.
winger, it definitely got better towards the season. And no one's going to acknowledge that. I will be the first one to acknowledge it. He definitely proved me wrong. Enzo, obviously, you guys missed him with injury, but he can only get better from here. Another
Yeah.
player we've seen kind of progress in terms of your team. I don't really think we've seen a player decline. Like they've started on the bottom, but like the only way to go is up for a lot of these
Mhm.
players. Even Mudrik is a player who's continuing to go up. It's not as rapid as people would like because they just hear the price and they're like, oh, okay, this player should be scoring 20, 30 goals. But
Mhm.
with time, obviously, you're buying a lot of youngsters. You're investing in the future. You're trying to build these players up to be your your Salahs or your Fodens and all that stuff. Like, let's not like Foden just came off. Well, speaking of Foden, Foden just came off a ridiculous season. Let's
Yeah.
not act like Foden was thrown into City's lineup and was putting up those numbers. He
Mhm.
adjusted to that squad. He adjusted to that life. He adjusted to the City's tactics. Obviously, you need that managerial consistency, that tactical consistency to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to operate. This, that, and third. You're not just going to show up on a team. It's possible, like Cole Palmer did. It's possible you just show up on a team and you just perform, but
Yeah.
it's highly unlikely. But we saw a lot with those Chelsea boys. So with that, I expect them to be top five this season. I expect them to be challenging with Newcastle. I expect them to be challenging with Villa. I expect them to be challenging with me personally. I have my own grudges with United and Tottenham. As much as I would love to say that they're not going to get anywhere near that, Ainge is a great manager, and we can see that he's taking his job very serious. He
Yeah.
expects to make some big changes, so I definitely see them halting Chelsea or at least being a thorn in their side. United, like I said, if they keep Ten Hag, I want them to keep Ten Hag because then I'll know for sure that all right, it's not going anywhere. But if they get rid of Ten Hag, they get a new manager, depending on who they get, I could see something. Obviously, United struggled as well with injuries. Like they had Mount out for a majority of the season. Cassandro Martinez, one of their better players, was out for a majority of the season. Varane, who's leaving this season, was out for a majority of the season. They had to use the likes of Kambwala, Johnny Evans. Maguire played a lot of games. We saw Wan-Bissaka play an unorthodox amount of minutes at left back.
Yeah.
Um, we saw youngsters like Amad Diallo come up. We saw Kobe Mainu come up. Anthony, we're still waiting on him to prove his worth. He has it in him for sure, but we're still waiting on him to prove his worth. We saw um, the new likes of Hoyland. I want to call him Holland, but Hoyland. He did his thing. Rashford
Yeah.
didn't have the best season, but again, one of those players who it's Rashford. We know he's capable. He can put up a stinker season one season and the next season show why he's Marcus Rashford. You got
Probably gonna
Jaden
score like
Sancho coming
70
back.
goals next season.
We have Jaden Sancho. That's one I'm very, very, very excited to see how that plans out because Jaden
Yeah.
Sancho obviously at Dortmund just played a Champions League final today, and though people want to talk about stats in terms of goals, assists, nobody wants to talk about the stats that really matter
An
in terms
impact.
of the impact he has on his team, the dribbles he makes everything, the chances created for his team.
Hmm.
He is a truly fledged winger in terms of he's such a joy to watch.
Yeah.
Um, in the way he dribbles and the way he's able to carry the ball, whether it's at the 10 or whether it's on the wing, it's very critical and very vital to a team. And I believe that that's something that the likes of Man United is missing. So if he's able to get that all up, make up and get amends with Man United and we see him inserted back in with that new fully fledged confidence that we now see oozing out of Jadon Sancho, I believe that he's going to be very crucial for them.
Yeah.
Mason Mount coming back from injury, you know what he's capable of. I know what
Stinker,
he's
bruv.
capable of.
Absolute
he
trash man.
he could be very like this is just a very very exciting time for a lot of teams in the Premier League. As much as I don't want to say it, even for the likes of Tottenham. Tottenham just came off a season with Heung-min Son playing at striker. They have Brennan Johnson who just had a fantastic season after being bought from Nottingham Forest. Um,
Yeah, I
Kulusevski
wanted
didn't
Brennan
have the
Johnson.
best season. Yeah, it was rumored that he was going to Chelsea at one point, but I
Yeah.
was kind of shocked that he went to Tottenham. We just saw Pape, their center mid, just came off a fantastic season after being on loan.
Yeah.
He partnered with Basuma in the midfield very well. We saw Hoiberg. uh, who is a fully credited midfielder in the Premier League. We saw his spot get lost. He's probably going to be sold this season. With Sir, he's probably going to be sold this season. We're seeing Ainge. If you've seen the list of players that Ainge has to or would like to sell to make profit for new transfers, I think we're about to see a whole new side of Tottenham. But obviously, Tottenham is Tottenham. But we're living in exciting times. We truly are. We're living in exciting times for the Premier League this season. Even I'm talking about just the big six. I'm even talking about these smaller mid-table teams. Me and you, we've privately talked about Crystal Palace with
Oh yeah.
Asner as their
Hmm.
new manager. He lost ever since coming in. He's lost only to the big six, and you're going to lose to City when
And
you're
when
Palace.
at every Big Six team, like yeah,
Yep,
they've been incredible. Yeah.
yep. Since coming in, he's made Mateta a average striker, a classic number nine, your classic poacher. He ended the season with 16 goals. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody who watches the Premier League would have ever guessed that Mateta would have finished with anything above 10 goals, let alone
Yeah.
16. You
Hmm.
have the likes of Elise, Eberici Eze. You got the back three with Joaquim Anderson and Chris Richards and Nathaniel Klein playing as a center back. Even them, they have injuries. Obviously, they missed the likes of Doucouré, who's very
Yeah.
vital. We got
And
Wharton playing in the
Munoz,
six.
like Munoz,
Munoz,
that signing, like he's been incredible for them. Yeah.
he's been exceptional. Um, the midfield double pivot of Hughes and Wharton. Who would have thought that that would be tearing up the
I know.
Prem? Hughes is doing
Yeah. I know
massive work.
Will Hughes
We even
is shocking. Yeah.
Even with West Ham, even though they have a new manager, they got an exciting prospect going on right now. They got Kudus, they got Bowen, they have Paqueta obviously banned, but they had Paqueta, Areola, who's coming off a pretty good season himself. Their defensive line led by Kurt Zuma. It's really exciting to see
They're
where
in a
the
good
Prem is
spot. Yeah.
going
Hmm.
from lower side tables, and then even with championship teams coming up, we see Southampton coming up. I this season is going to be incredible
Hmm.
in my opinion. I don't think we're gonna see uh City reign. I see them winning, but I don't think it's gonna be easy by any means this time
Yeah.
around.
I
But
agree.
it's gonna be a very entertaining season of football, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch how it all unfolds.
Hmm. Yeah. I think Pep, we'll see his adjustments. I mean, every season it seems like he changes things up a lot and comes out with like new ideas. Like his treble winning season, he like has revolutionized football, period. Like that was, inverting fullbacks and now everybody's doing that. And so um yeah, I'm really excited. I think we'll have a similar season. I think we could have a slow start just while players are getting used to the new tactics, new system. The good news is a lot of reports I've seen is that Chelsea players think that Maresca is a really good fit for them, and they're excited. Especially Cole Palmer and Romeo Lavia, them working with him before. I'm sure they're putting in a good word for him and letting people know that that he is a really good coach and yeah, I think we could maybe bump up. I think we need to get closer to 70 points. If we are pushing for top four, I'd be really happy. I'm not gonna like say anything crazy like we're gonna make a title challenge or anything, but I think we could be in the race for fourth. I think we're gonna continue to improve. I expect a big season from Cole Palmer. Noni Madueke stepped up a lot. He's still inconsistent, but I could see him being a big player for Maresca. Same with Mudryk. Um, I think that role suits both of them really well. I could see them having a really good season. The defense needs to be shored up, and the good thing about Leicester is they have the best defense in the championship, and that's just because the other team just doesn't get the ball. They just suffocate them. They don't let them have the ball. They don't let them create chances. So excited for that because Chelsea had our worst defensive season in Premier League history this season. I believe, which, is not ideal. We conceded a lot of goals, scored a lot too, which there's a lot of promise on the offensive side of things. But I actually think we have good center backs despite, conceding a lot. So I think when we give up less chances, we're a little bit less of a transitional team and we play more possession dominant football, then I think defense will just naturally improve. So, yeah, I expect a top four push. I wouldn't be surprised if we finish a little bit outside of top four. I think Arsenal will win the Premier League this season. They're gonna, I think they'll make a lot of necessary adjustments. I think they're gonna look to get Jorginho improvement because I think Mikel Arteta likes a regista like player sitting deep. And Jorginho is very good at that. At one point, he's maybe the best in the world. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if they go for like Frankie De Jong or somebody like that. I could see them making, some huge transfers this summer because, they have a good team, but they don't have a team that's as deep as City. Like City can make a deep Champions League run and play their starters in the Champions League and then have like an incredible team to field like at the weekend. They Arsenal just needs depth. I think now that they've challenged City for 2 years, and I think they know the necessary improvements that they need to make to beat City. I expect them. I think they're gonna win the league. I don't hate Arsenal. I should as a Chelsea fan. I just want to see Manchester City dethroned.
Mhm.
Also, they have a couple former Chelsea guys. Kai Havertz won us the Champions League. Of course, doesn't seem like he has any care for Chelsea. He celebrated both times he scored against us in their thrashing. But I do like to see him doing good because I've always really believed that he is a really good player. And I think kind of playing that Ramdeuter role for Arsenal works really well. And so yeah, I think he's great. I think he'll step up. I think they'll sign a striker. Like I said, I mentioned they're in for Francesco. I think Isak would revolutionize Arsenal. I could see him scoring like 30 goals for Arsenal. Like he just is such a good finisher. And um so I could see that. I think yeah. And having um Timber back will feel like a new transfer as well, and having him be able to make an impact on the team. So yeah, I think Arsenal will win the league. I think City, it'll be really tight at the top. I think it'll be between Arsenal and City as the two top guys. I think you guys will have a little bit more of a transitional year also just with a new coach. Because it's a similar system, I think there won't be like as big of a transition period that there will be with Chelsea, as the Chelsea players are trying to get used to a possession system as opposed to a transitional system. So I think yeah, I think you guys will place third. I agree with that. But I don't think you guys will be like title challengers necessarily. I think it'll be similar to this year, except maybe you guys won't be in the running for it as long as you were. Um, and I think fourth, I think Newcastle will lose Isak and Guimaraes this summer, and those will be huge losses. But Tonali will be back. I'm sure they'll invest that money really well. They just need to make sales so they can kind of balance their team out. Um, I expect them to be better than they were this past year, but that's just because of some the injury problems that they had. I think top six is attainable for them, but I think Tottenham will probably get four. I think if they can also be healthy, they should have been fourth if they didn't have all the injuries that they had. I think Aston Villa were like bottom of the league in terms of injuries, so they had a consistent squad all season long. So I think Spurs will probably place fourth. They if they can make some good signings, sell some players that they don't need that don't really fit Postecoglou ball, then I I think they're probably favorites for fourth. I think fifth will be us. I think we'll make a push for fourth, and maybe we will place fourth. But I think fifth place, an improvement and maybe closer to 70 points would be big, and then maybe more consistent play throughout the year. I think there will be some times where like we're struggling to score goals just because we don't really know like how to progress the ball up the pitch in this like super possession system. But I think fifth is good for us. I think Manchester United will probably be sixth. Um, I think they'll get Europe again. I don't expect them to fire Ten Hag at this point. If they do, I think that'll be a massive mistake because I do still rate him as a coach. You don't. Um, but because
Not for that
obviously,
team. I rate him as a coach, just not for United. I don't think
yeah.
he's a good fit for United.
And I think with their new ownership, with Ineos coming in, if they can work together to really build a project, then I think they can be, especially with the young talent they have, Hoyland Mainu and Garnacho, like there is something special there potentially. Um, and I do think that could be with Ten Hag, but we'll see. I think six is probably good for them. And then yeah, it's kind of like a big eight now. Like it's not a big
It's
six anymore. There's,
it's
like
pretty deep now. That's what's
yeah.
so exciting. It's so deep.
I think Villa will be seventh, maybe. Um,
Seventh.
yeah, I think like I said,
What?
I wouldn't be surprised if they struggle to navigate Champions League. And I know a lot of Newcastle placing back this year was because of the injury problems that they had, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Villa step back a little bit. Um, but I still expect them to do good in Europe just because they have Unai Emery, who obviously is an incredible tournament coach and does really well in Europe. So I wouldn't be surprised if they step back just a little bit, but they could be like sixth or fifth. I just want to give the boys in blue at least a little bit more credit. Um, but yeah, and you mentioned the mid-table teams. I expect Palace to be like putting pressure on everybody, playing some really exciting, expansive football. I think Glasner's a great coach for them. They're about to sign Kamada as well, which is like an unbelievable signing for Crystal Palace. I think Elise will
True.
leave, but Kamada will, I think, step into that well. Despite he's not the same profile player, but he can play in the half space as well. Um, and yeah, I think I'm excited to see Ipswich this year. I think their style of football suits the Premier League really well, and I really rate Kieran McKenna. I don't think he was the right coach for Chelsea, just because he plays more of a transitional style of football. But his football is super interesting, super dynamic. So I mean, I think his game, the Ipswich will transition well to the Premier League. Um, I think Leicester will do well because they're just not a championship team. I think they just need to get this next appointment right, like a safe hire who will keep them steady in the Premier League. So I'm really excited though. I think there's a big chance Arsenal could finally dethrone Pep. I'm excited to see you guys, excited to see Slot Ball, excited to see Arnie Slot in the Prem. Yeah, excited to see what Maresca can cook up with this young Chelsea team. I think there's a big future with us. Excited to see Conference League as well. I think that'll be a huge competition for us and a good opportunity to get some different looks and try some different stuff out because, we won't be playing the most elite competition in the Conference League. So that'll be a good competition for us to win. I think we probably should expect to win it once we know all the teams that are competing in it. But that'll be a really good competition. It'd be great to get some silverware for Chelsea. I think we really need it right now at all the cup finals that we've lost in recent history. So yeah, but I'm pumped. This will be a really good season, and obviously there's a whole summer left, and the Euros, which is very exciting. Excited to see the players that kind of pop out in the Euros and everything. So, but yeah, a big season. We've gone very long. Um, But this has been it's been a good time. I'm glad we were able to reignite the podcasts. Um, how do we close it out?
We will not be taking another 3-year break. I assure you of this. We will be much more consistent. Uh, we will be uploading all kinds of content during the off season, maybe even during the season. We've got Euros coming up. We've got Copa America coming up. We've
Yeah.
got a lot of football to talk about or coming up. Just all over, just football, football, football. And we love talking football. We're going to be
Yeah.
saying the most in-depth nerdy stuff on this channel. We will get into every position, every transfer, every stat that we can because we are just football nerds.
Yeah.
And if you don't love
Absolutely.
football, this is not the page for you. If you love football, this is the page for you.
Hmm.
We take all opinions. We listen to all opinions. We take all sorts of stats. And we just love football. That's as simple as that.
That's
If you
that's it.
enjoyed, if you enjoyed, we appreciate you for being here. We appreciate you for listening. Uh, like I said, much more content coming soon. We will be more active. We will be more engaged. And we would like to hear from other people. Of course, we would
Yeah.
like to hear just to for you guys to not just challenge us, but to also learn how other people around the world have their perspective on football, because this is the universal sport. We all love football. We don't speak the same language, but we all speak the same language in terms of football. So
Hmm.
if you like, please like. If you like, please comment. And if you like, please watch some more.
Yeah.
We have been Added Time Football Podcast. We are signing out.